never going to be 100% ready. So massive imperfect action is one thing that we always preach at Wholesaling Inc. Massive imperfect action is good, and that's exactly what you need when you're starting off.
Hello and welcome to Pillars of Wealth Creation, where we talk about creating financial success with a special focus on business and real estate. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. Now, let's get to it. Hello and welcome back to Pillars of Wealth Creation. I'm your host, Todd Dexheimer. With me, we got Rafael Cortez. Rafael, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. And a little bit about Rafael. He's a second-generation entrepreneur from Yuma, Arizona. After becoming one of the youngest firefighters in Yuma County, he launched his first company at the age of 23. Man, that's old. And maintained constant growth until he successfully sold the company in 2014. Rafael is currently an organizational psychologist and real estate coach and investor, holding ownership in multiple companies in various verticals, working with Wholesaling Inc. Rafael uses his investment knowledge, entrepreneurial spirit, and training as an organizational psychologist to help others become successful real estate investors. With that said, let's break that down a little bit so our listeners know exactly what you're doing. What's Wholesaling Inc. Actually doing? Give us some breakdown here.
Cool. Yeah. So entrepreneurship wise, I started a long time ago in different verticals, and then I got into real estate. Currently, I'm the head coach. I'm the head coach for Wholesaling Inc., which is a coaching company, real estate wholesale coaching company. And basically what we come in and teach is how to find motivated sellers. So there's a strategy called wholesaling where you can sell your vested interest in a contract. So you have to come in, find sellers, so find properties that are in distress that qualify for that wheelhouse, and then negotiate them, and then you can sell that contract for a profit. So it plays into the real estate world. It's not flipping a property. You're not picking up a hammer or anything like that. But that's what real estate wholesaling is. It's selling your vested interest in a contract, and through Wholesaling Inc., that's the main thing that we do. We teach people how to create wealth through that type of transaction.
So why real estate and why wholesaling?
I started in transportation. So there was a lot of logistics. My first business was a non-emergency medical transportation company. After I left the fire department, and it was just a ton of headaches with a bunch of employees, and I couldn't scale the company and scale the profits at the same time, if that makes sense. It's anytime I wanted to make more revenue, I had to create more expenses. So I started looking for different models, and I got into real estate investments, and flipping my first property back in 2009, and started playing around with it. And I saw that the model was a lot easier to handle than having this big, massive company with a ton of employees, and the profits, percentage wise, was a lot better. And as I got more into it, I started looking for properties just like the typical rehabber. And I started coming across people who had deals, right? Like, where are these people getting them from? So I started buying properties from wholesalers, and I started seeing the transactions on the closing statements on the HUDs. This guy that sold me the property is making $15,000 on the property, and me flipping it, I'm making $20,000 on the property. Where is this coming from? So that was the assignment fee, right? And so I started looking more into it, and I ended up, I rather flip contracts and paper than flip a property at at this time. So it makes a lot more sense.
Sure. You grew up in this entrepreneurial household, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're second generation. I'm sure you know a lot of people that aren't entrepreneurs. Likely a lot of your childhood friends weren't. Like, maybe this is hard to come up with, but what's different in an entrepreneur house than in just like somebody who works at W-2? Is there anything like your parents did that you feel were different?
Well, first, a little context on that. I come from a single mother household, right?
Hmm.
And she did have, so she had the one thing that we had, or that I had growing up, was the entrepreneur spirit. I would see her just hustle every single day because she set up shop on this small little grocery store that she used to own. And this was back in Mexico, right? So she used to own this little grocery in Mexico. We lived across the border in the States, but she would actually go or have her business and go work in Mexico and then come back every single
Hmm.
night, border town. So that's, I mean, I grew up seeing her do that kind of stuff. And I think, it, she humble beginnings, grew up in a mobile home, and it wasn't the flashiness that comes with the word entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that. So I saw it all happening as it was. I never lacked food or anything like that. So I didn't realize that we weren't, for the most part, we were not even in the middle class. It's just we were making stuff work, thanks to mom, and she was hustling back and forth. And I think that's really what the difference was. It's me growing up with that and then seeing it as a normal standard. I would
Yeah.
just see her go to work and then get stuff done, come back, and then do it all over again the next day. And yeah, you're right. I mean, as far as friendships, a lot of my friends, from high school and junior high growing up, they're not, um, they don't have, they're not looking for
Yeah.
their own journey or entrepreneur journey. They're well settled and they're perfectly happy in a space, but it's just something that I grew up with, and I think that was the biggest difference.
Yeah. That's it's interesting to hear. And you had a mother that was hustling like that, and you get to see that every day. And it's funny, as a kid, you don't even know, like you know that your mom's working hard, but you don't know that you don't, like, maybe have money and stuff like that. You don't
It
pay
doesn't
any
register.
attention.
You think
It
it's
doesn't
normal.
register. Yeah, it's just how you live. It's
Yeah.
funny, but it's actually probably the best, like a really good thing that you were able to grow up and see, and likely had this. You gotta bust your butt. You gotta bust your
Yeah.
butt in order to be an entrepreneur, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
You got to watch firsthand at an entrepreneur, bust their butt. And
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I've talked about a couple of times, I think I simply grew up in a good era, right? So I saw the hustle of the good old fashioned elbow grease, and going in, putting in the work, and then coming back with
Mhm.
a paycheck. But I also got to see the beginnings of technology. I'm a child of the '80s. I was born in '83. I'm 37 now. So growing up, in the '90s, early 2000s. I got the work ethic from my mom. I mean, that's definitely where it came from, no contest. And then I got to mix it up a little bit with the technology that we started playing around. I mean, we started talking about email, we started doing all that stuff that now it's common, right? But when you mix it with good old hard work, I think we were just in a time that
Get a
that
little bit
was,
of both.
yeah, it was a good recipe. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you can do a lot with work ethic.
I agree. I'm kind of in that little era too. Like, technology was there; it was developing very quickly, but yet hard work was for sure not looked down upon. I mean, that was you needed to
Oh,
bust your butt.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Let's talk about, you've got different companies, and you've had different companies. What do you see keys to when you're first getting started? Like, what are some of the key things to find success, like, that you need to do early on, or to make sure you're setting yourself up for success?
When you're starting a business, and I fell into this mistake at the beginning, actually a few times. So it's trial and error for me, but it's getting focused on the stuff that doesn't generate revenue right out of the gate. So focusing on income generating activities is going to be the biggest thing, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're starting up a popsicle shop, or tapping into your real estate wholesale business. It's something that I always teach. We have to focus first off on income generating activities, and whatever that looks like for your business, it's going to be different, right? In our case, it's finding sellers. So we have to focus on the marketing. We have to focus on the seller conversations, and then worry about, the rest of the transaction process. Worry about the logo, worry about, the how the branding is going to look. It's simple, but at the beginning, you're in a level 1 type company. And what that is, the priorities go in certain order. The first priority is going to be cash. The second priority is going to be people. The third priority is going to be systems. All right. So you can't have systems in place if you can't keep the lights on. You can't have people, on your hiring squad if you can't keep the lights on, right? So you need cash. You come in, income generating activities, and then focus on hiring, and then focus on dialing the systems. And I think a lot of times people want to have the CRM, they want to have, the website, they want to have the logo, the look, and the email campaigns and the funnels and all kinds of stuff laid out first before they actually tap into generating income. And I mean, it's you're almost asking for failure, because if you don't have, deep pockets, cash is going to run out quick, a lot faster than usually anticipated.
Yeah. That's so true. I mean, I'm the perfect example of that, to probably a little bit to a negative, but I started in real estate in 2008, and I didn't get my first website till 2017. I was focused so much on growth and building, and the website was the last thing on my mind. Now, maybe don't wait that long, but we've got to make sure I like that, those three things: to take care of the cash, take care, get, cash, people, and systems. I think that's
right.
Really valuable for anybody who's first starting up. I see so many people that are like, oh, I got to get the perfect business cards, the perfect logo, the perfect, all this kind of stuff. It's like,
a lot of that is it's evading, it's procrastination on things that, we're fearful of. Yes. Picking up the phone if you need a cold call, on, actually, going out there and networking and tapping into, new relationships. Like, I'm going to wait until I have this in place so they see.
I got to have everything ready.
Yep. Yeah. So that's never going to happen. We're never going to be 100% ready. So massive imperfect action is one thing that we always preach at Wholesaling Inc. Massive imperfect action is good. And that's exactly what you need when you're starting off.
I like that. Massive imperfect action. I'm going to credit you once, and I'm going to steal that for myself. So,
it's a beautiful thing.
I recently read the book by Phil Knight, Shoe Dog. Have you read that book yet?
No, I haven't read that one.
It's a great book. And so he flies to Japan and meets with Tiger Shoes, and he's going to convince Tiger Shoes that he's going to sell their brand in the US. And they ask him what his company name is, and he didn't have a company at the time. So he just, like, first thing that popped in his head, he said, the first thing that popped in my head was a blue ribbon. And so that's what he said, Blue Ribbon Sports or whatever. And it just goes to show you, obviously we know the success of Phil Knight and of Nike.
Yeah.
And that's how he started. He didn't have a logo. He didn't even have a brand. He didn't even have a company. He had to form the company afterwards. He was focused on actually creating something first. So it's just goes to show you exactly what you're saying is so true. So
yeah, another thing I would add to that is it's if you find a way to cut the learning curve. I mean, get either team up, partner up with somebody who has experience, or get mentorship. I mean, pay for trainings and that sort of thing. I mean, that makes sense because it cuts the learning curve, and you're not just kind of aiming aimlessly for cash generating activities and figuring it all out. I mean, it's buying time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. But when you start tackling things that way, opportunities are going to come at you. And then as you're taking actions, you start getting clarity over the process that you're working on. Right. So case in point, the transportation company, I had no clue how to put it together. I had no idea. I just knew that I needed a van. That was step one. So I went for that. And then I realized I needed to do all kinds of upgrades to the first van and turn it into a wheelchair van. And like, that was step two. And you start just, figuring all this out. You document the process. You start meeting people along the way that connected with somebody else. And then you start, everything is cloudy. But after you take massive imperfect action, it's things start getting a little bit more collected,
right?
And then you have a picture.
Yeah. It's massive imperfect action. There it is again. Right.
If you're exploring the different ways to invest in real estate, then you've got to check out my new book called Book About Real Estate. It summarizes, reviews, and condenses over 20 top real estate books to help give you an understanding of the full spectrum of real estate investing very quickly. So buy it today on Amazon by searching for Book About Real Estate by Matt Jones.
Let's talk, since we're on kind of this this train here, let's talk about your operating systems, and let's dive into the systems in the business. Maybe you want to talk wholesaling or just business in general. I find it interesting, the people that are good at the wholesaling, that are wholesaling in real estate, the people that are actually good at it, because there's a lot of people that do it and dabble and
there's a lot of turnover.
There's a lot of turnover. But the people that are good at it have the systems in place and are doing it right. What do you speak about the operating systems that you've found in your business, and how can people, learn from what you've learned?
Well, it's huge. Again, if you're jumping into something that's new to you, you definitely want to tap somewhere where you don't want to build the road. You know what I mean? Especially something like this, that's already been tried and tested. But having systems in place is the only way that you can automate and delegate and elevate. It's the only way that you can step away from the business at any point in time. Otherwise, if you don't have a process and systems in place, all you have is a side hustle. I don't care what you call it. It may be your LLC, it may be, your logo may be the greatest logo in the world. But if you don't have a way to run it without you being there, it's a side hustle. You've created a job for yourself, and you're not a business owner, you're just self-employed. So the drawback to that is that if you step away from it, everything crumbles and falls to the floor. It's not sustainable without you in it. When you have systems, it's a whole different ballgame. For example, for wholesaling, all of our coaching is really shaped around six different principles, right? One is sourcing. We have to source the deals. The two is qualifying the deals. Make sure that we're not, talking to people who don't make sense and they all fit our wheelhouse. Three is going to be the acquisitions process. So we negotiate and, go through the process of discovery and, sit down with the sellers. Four is going to be the dispositions process. And that's your disposition structure. How are you going to sell that contract and make money on that deal? And there's so many different ways to structure that. And then fifth, a lot of people stop at one common thing that I see, especially in wholesaling in this particular model, is they'll stop at the dispo and then they'll just start all over again. But the two most important steps really come after the dispo. That's when you measure. You measure your KPIs, you track your performance on every single one of the deals, on every single one of the campaigns that you're working on. And then you improve. So measure and improve. Those are the last two steps. And when you're improving, your overall flow of things, your marketing dollars are best spent. You start figuring out where your kinks are at, and you can pinpoint, what, our conversion rate was crappy because our script is not, converting well. So we need to switch that. And you can pinpoint little, areas in your business that are causing the problems, as opposed to thinking, oh, you know what, I have a problem, but I don't know exactly where it's at. If you break it down, if you chunk it down, and keep it all linear, you're going to have a good picture of where you can come in and improve it. But and I'm using the wholesaling model because that's what we're coaching. But it goes the same way in any industry to tap into.
Yeah. You can take in what you just said there. I buy multifamily, same thing, just slightly different or slightly different time frames. You can take really any business and it's still, again, little twists on it, but it's still that sourcing, qualifying, acquiring, disposition, measuring, and improving. It's still the
Right.
same main concepts.
Yeah, the KPIs might be a little different to each industry and method or even your business, right? I mean, I know we track some KPIs that are not common, but they help us on the marketing side. But having a process and accountability more than anything, that's what a system does, really. I mean, you can plug people into it and then you can hold them accountable. This is what was supposed to happen at this stage of the process. And you minimize the rooms for error, right? Not everything is subjective. When you hire, this is the one thing that kills me. So somebody will hire an acquisitions rep, and they'll tell them, "Yeah, I mean, go lock deals." They'll spend a ton of cash in marketing, and then they'll just give it to this one person that they just brought in. But there's no really, there's no training and process. There's no conversion process. There's no so it's all subjective, and the acquisition can do, if it's a great acquisitions guy, you're good, right? But if it's not, you're going to lose money on the leads, and you can't hold anybody accountable because you don't know what to track and that sort of thing. So that's where systems really come in. I mean, which way you paint them, it's or how you paint them can vary, but you got to have something like that in place as you start building and fine tuning your business.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about mistake you've made. Let's pick a mistake, and more importantly, how'd you learn from it? How'd you improve from it?
Pick a mistake. I jumped in. I'll pick real estate. I mentioned that I did. I flipped my first house in 2009. And I think I bought it right. It was when the market was still at the bottom. It wasn't going down any further. It was just bottom pricing. So it was a good time to buy. I bought it right, but I jumped in and I didn't really I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't, okay. I knew how to swing a hammer and that was it, but I didn't know about permits. I didn't know about sourcing deals. I didn't know, where to sell the deals. All I knew, I had to hire a realtor. And I made so mistakes on that first flip with contractors. During the administration of the whole process, I thought I had it all dialed in. And I built a company. I know I can do this. But, oh my God. Yeah. The time frame was a lot shorter than building a regular business, right? So in a couple of months, you're in the hole. So I bought the property. I didn't price it right. I didn't run the comps right. When I hired high. I was paying way more than I should have, for the contractors, and the work was subpar. So many different mistakes. It just, and the ego got to me. That was it. I mean, honestly, long story short, my ego was so inflated. It was so up there that I don't need to reach out to anybody. I got this. And I didn't. I lost money on that first flip.
Yeah, it's so easy though as an entrepreneur to think you can do it all on your own, isn't it? Like, yeah, we just think we're good at everything. We're gonna do it all. Like, we got this. The ego, or sometimes it's not even the ego. It's just like we have to do. It's probably ego still. We have to do it.
Ego is not your amigo.
No, I like it.
Yeah. But I think that's it. I mean, just not cutting the learning curve when I could.
Yeah,
that's really one of the biggest things, because I know now I understand. For example, over the last couple of years, it's my thought process has switched from how to who. Instead of how can I figure this out, is who can help me, or who already knows how to do this that I can reach out to, and they can help me get there faster. Especially the group of people that are around me right now. It's really my power panel. It's a bunch of friends, really, but we're all in this, similar industries, and we all hang out and kind of share, our highs, our lows, our problems, and we work together to help each other out. But that's been, invaluable. Just having that mentality of how can I cut the learning curve? Who can I reach out to? I mean, if I think one of my friends can help me out, I'll reach out to them, and we're like a common little resource, right? If we have to come in, and we're part of multiple masterminds as well, and pay for that stuff, and you have access to this big network. But it's cutting that is going to get you a lot faster. A lot further, a lot faster.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny that you mentioned The who and not the how. You're the second person I interviewed today, and the previous person said the exact same thing. Like, you
Really?
gotta focus on the who and not the how and not the what. Like,
Yeah.
figure out
Yep.
who's there, who you can partner with, who you can use as a resource.
Mhm.
And you're gonna go so much farther, faster, and with better results.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to relearn the how to build the car, right? It's
Yeah.
there's already somebody out there that knows how to do it.
Yeah. Why reinvent it when it's already being done? So,
Exactly.
um, what's a goal that you have, or what's your kind of main goal moving forward? Where do you see yourself going and doing?
So, I mean, going forward, I have right now a run for different businesses. One is the I own a real estate brokerage. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So I own a real estate brokerage here. I own a real estate investment company, which is, we do wholesale and flips through that company. And I'm an organizational psychologist. So I do a lot of business coaching and consulting for different businesses. So, I mean, between those three, I think we just actually sat down this year and laid out the plans for 2021 and how we're going to come in and crush it. So all that stuff is laid out. But I think right now, the biggest focus is really going to be on the real estate coaching side of things through Wholesaling Inc. It's a great platform. It's a great space. And at the end of the day, I have this one purpose in my head. And this has been, for years. I want to empower entrepreneurship. I was really young when I started dabbling with entrepreneurship and looking into, researching business and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And I didn't have a lot of resources back then. I didn't know who to go to. I went to the SBA. They gave me a business plan, and that's about as far as that went. It helped me, but it wasn't. I mean, I still had a lot of questions and doubts. So, I guess sitting in my own space, one of the things that I thought about is what makes me happy, and that's to empower entrepreneurship. At the end of the day, if I go to bed and I feel like I empowered entrepreneurship somehow, some way, and I mean empowered as in tools, strategies, tactics, motivation, all that stuff, not just not just motivation or inspiring. That goes away in 2 days.
Yeah.
But when you empower somebody, when you truly empower somebody, it's a life-changing thing, right? And to me, it's the focus for this year is going to be on that, on empowering entrepreneurship, and the market that I choose to do it in is through wholesaling coaching.
Yeah, that's really cool, and it's fun to be at that part in the journey, to be able to be giving back like that. And
Yeah.
it's crazy to think, back in when you first started this journey, 23 years old. I mean, the lack of resources that were really publicly available it's just amazing when you look at what's around right now, the opportunity that young people have. You said, I think, your first business was when you were 23. Is that right?
Yeah.
Or
Well, I
maybe you
started
dabbled
working.
in little businesses before that even,
Yeah.
but
Oh yeah. I
but
sold all kinds of stuff in high school. That sort of stuff.
yeah. But you think
Nothing
about
illegal. Nothing illegal. Let me
nothing illegal.
just
That's good.
throw a
That's good.
disclaimer out there.
Yeah, I had some friends that sold some stuff too.
Yeah.
Nothing to be proud of. But at 23 years old, somebody who's 23 right now, they have just an amazing amount of resources to tap into, which is awesome. It speaks to where we've gone, and and to be able to give back to people, I think that's awesome. So I commend you for that, for really
Thank you.
making that a focus. So, um, what's a favorite book that you can pass on to our listeners?
Favorite book. I mean, well, there's a different, I guess, different categories, but the one book that I'm always going to go back to is actually, if I can do two. One of them that helped me a lot in my journey is The Alchemist and that's more of a fable, but it's by Paulo Coelho. And The Alchemist, right? It's a journey about finding yourself, finding your truth, and that to me made a lot of sense. I guess I read it at the right time. And then as far as personal development, one other book that I would highly recommend is The Go Giver, the Go Giver book. Yeah, but those two are really, really good stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate that. All right. So last question before we wrap up. What are your 3 pillars of wealth creation?
3 pillars of wealth creation. One, I think you got to have multiple sources of revenue. One, because it allows you to pivot whenever you need to. And if one leg falls off, it's kind of like a table, right? One leg, you can still stand on the other 3 while you put it back together.
Right.
So multiple streams of income. At this point, I'm running on 6 streams of income between the businesses and software that I developed and stuff like that, right? So I have multiple streams coming in. That's one. 2 is going to be having a system. I mean, because that is wealth creation, having operating systems in place, a process that you follow and you can plug people in. Wealth creation to me, it's not just monetary. Mm-hmm. It's freedom in time. It's owning your options, right? And at the end of the day, I want to own my options and I want to have a bunch of options. That's how I see personal wealth.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a process or systems in place where I can plug people who are better at those things than me, I can't walk away from the business. Yeah. So you almost have to build stuff, reverse engineer stuff in a way that you're thinking franchise, style, right? If you were to delegate it, automate it, delegate it, and elevate it, what would that look like? And that's where systems come in. The other pillar for me, it's distribution. How do you distribute your earnings? And I don't know if we have a couple of minutes for that, but I can elaborate.
Yeah, elaborate. I want to hear it.
So for example, business, anything that goes into the business, I'll cover overhead, right? So we have a budget for each one of the businesses. So we cover the budget. Anything that comes in, we have to cover that budget first and my salary is paid out of that. So my salary is already part of the business expenses, profit first. And I leave 30% of whatever the profits are, whatever, it's above the 30% of the net revenue goes, stays in the business. And I always leave it on there. It's just a growing account. So we cover the budget and then we grow it by 30% on the bank account. And then if we need to do owner's draws, we'll do owner's draws on whatever the balance is, right? That's one. That's what it looks like on the business side of things. And I have the same, simple model for everything. On the personal side, and I think that's more important at a personal level, I have five different buckets that I distribute my money into. One is my tithe account. So I have a tithe account and I get 10% and 10% goes straight into it. And that's not mine. I get 10% of whatever income comes in through, payroll or through owner's draws. It doesn't matter how much it is. 10% goes straight into a tithe account and I'll distribute that. The next one is I call it a create account. It's creating as from a personal standpoint. So creating memories, creating trips, creating, whatnot. I throw another 10% into that account. So if, we want to plan out to go somewhere, take a trip, if, whatever, I have a create account there. That's a fund, right? Because I like to play. And then I have a wealth account. On that wealth account, I drop another 10%. And that's just I think of that as a wallet. Any, extra expenses or unaccounted items or whatever, it's on that bucket, on that wealth bucket. And then I have a live account. 50% of my income goes into the live account. And that's living expenses, mortgage, car payments and all that stuff. And then I have a flow account. On the flow account, I pay off debt, any credit card debt, stuff like that, and investments. So I have a flow account, and that takes 20%. That's how I distribute my funds. So it's 50% to my live account, and then the other 50% between the other 4 accounts. And I mean, that works well because I'm looking at the everything kind of going to place. Everything that matters is prioritized on there. At least, everything that matters for me, it's prioritized on there. And, I still get to play. I know what my budget for that is. I don't have to overkill it. Yeah. Extracurricular expenses are on the wealth account. And I think, knowing what to do with your money is just as important as making money, if not more. Yeah. So yeah, I think those 3 are my pillars for wealth.
Yeah, I love it. Really, the thoughtfulness too on the distribution. I think that's really important. I think a lot of people don't think that much about that. They want to go on vacation. They just go. They want to buy a new boat, they go buy a new boat. They want to, do whatever, they spend it, but they don't really think about how much they're spending. So all of a sudden they've spent, instead of 10%, they've spent, 30% in one category.
Yeah.
And really have messed up all the other categories. And then they wonder why. Well, it's because they weren't paying attention, right? They weren't focused. They don't even have that focus, maybe. So.
Yeah, and also I can't explain the effect of tithing. One, it feels really good when you tithe.
Yeah.
And me, you can just, culturally, it's not common to come in and to come in and tithe. It's something that I learned later on, but the effect of it, the feeling that you get, you almost get a helping high per se when you're doing it. So it feels really good, one thing, but it also has this effect in your finances, and that I can't explain it. And I just know it's an amazing thing. So
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it comes back full circle. It just does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not sure why, like you said, but
it does, right?
It does. Yeah. So awesome. Well, look, Rafael, having a lot of fun with this conversation. You brought a ton of great knowledge to everybody. Really talking about, the 6 steps for your systems, talking about your 3 pillars, talking about how you start in that business, all a bunch of great information. So really appreciate that. How can our listeners get in touch with you, learn more about what you got going on, and connect?
Social media is going to be the fastest way. Instagram is Rafael, or at Rafael.CEO Pulse. That's my handle. You can also find me on Facebook. And I have a YouTube channel, the CEO Pulse. That's CEOPULSE. And I have a podcast on entrepreneurship there as well. We do a lot of, if you're interested in coaching and learning more about real estate investments and how to build that business up, you can go to wholesalinginc.com and talk to one of our team members there as well. Yeah, those are going to be the best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, that's great. We'll put those in the show notes. Again, really appreciate it. And you have a fantastic rest of the day.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate you being a loyal listener. I would love to have you go on to our Facebook page and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go on to iTunes or wherever you listen and give us a rating and review. Don't forget to subscribe. Your rating and review just helps us push this out to more and more people and continue to grow our audience and hopefully positively affect a ton of people out there that really need this and want this. So the other thing I've got for you is a free ebook on my website. So go on to venturedproperties.com, and download our free ebook on real estate and on syndication. And I've got some data points in there, some really good stuff for you. So I'd love to have you take a look at that. It's free. I'm not expecting anything from it. And also, look, if you want some help in multifamily, want some help learning, growing, getting your business off the ground, I would love to talk to you about what it would look like to work with me potentially and see if that's a good fit. So you can go to coachwithdex.com and check that out, and we can definitely have a call. Thanks a lot for listening. You make it a fantastic rest of the day. I'll catch you on the next episode.